Game balance is extremely difficult. I've been saying this for a very long time, and it's something that I have held and maintained for a very long time as well, because I want people to understand that every time you talk crap on developers, there's a certain amount of things that we as people just don't see. However, I think it's also incredibly important to understand criticisms of certain things. I feel like far too many people not only don't understand that game balance is incredibly difficult, but they also don't understand what makes some game balancing decisions bad. So for a while, people have been touting that Hillbilly was just so ungodly powerful that he needed to be reined in and needed nerfs and all this other nonsense, and I guess we've all just kind of forgotten about Nerfs. Either that or the community has just given up on the fact that Nerfs is and continues to be the single most oppressive killer in this game when played correctly, but hey, what do I know? I just work here. The point is that when the Hillbilly nerfs came to the 8.3.0 patch, I stated, especially during the PTB review, that this was over-nerfing the character, and people were like, but he's still good, you don't understand, he's still— Shut up. I cannot stand for the life of me whenever I say, hey, these nerfs were too much. These nerfs did not need to be needed. You only needed to do one, maybe two. You did not need this many. He was over-nerfed. People immediately jumped to me calling the character weak or acting like the character got Skull Merchant. But that's not what happened, and I never said that's what happened. What I said was that the character was over-nerfed, and I'm maintaining that. Let's talk a little bit about the Hillbilly as a character and talk about what actively makes the Hillbilly a strong character. So the Hillbilly, if you don't know, is the third killer to ever come to the game. I guess technically he came at the same time as Wraith, because Wraith and him were released after the beta, but he's the third killer on the list. I've already done an entire analysis video on Hillbilly, his lore, his playstyle, things like that. But the thing that you need to understand about Hillbilly is that he is a chase anti-loop killer with incredible map traversal. Hillbilly, at least in my opinion, has always been the fourth strongest killer in the game, and after these nerfs, I still maintain that he is the fourth strongest killer in the game. The Hillbilly has a chainsaw that allows him to sprint across the map at incredible speeds, and he has a curve window that lets him go around safe loops, and if the chainsaw connects with anybody, then they instantly go down. Because of his insane map traversal, his ability to do slight anti-loop, and his incredible chase potential, the Hillbilly is one of the strongest characters in the game. But what people often would complain about when it comes to the Hillbilly is how easy it was for the Hillbilly to catch up to you and then immediately go into something like a back rev. Back revving, if you're not aware, is when the Hillbilly just tickles your asshole while he's revving the chainsaw, so that by the time the chainsaw releases, there's actually nowhere for you to go unless you're just like a god tier juker, which doesn't necessarily always happen. Now, one of the big things that I want you guys to understand, especially when it comes to the Hillbilly, is that I played him for a very long time. I know his weaknesses, I know his strengths, I know his power level, because when I had come back to the game after my last hiatus, Hillbilly was one of my mains. Actually, he was my main until I got really irritated with things like the incessant, inconsistent hitboxes that allowed you to bang off of leaves that were 6 feet above your head. So, what do I know? The point is that the Hillbilly changes were too much, but one of the reasons that I say that they're too much is not necessarily that they made him so much significantly weaker than he was, because don't get it twisted, the Hillbilly is significantly weaker than he was, but because the changes actively encourage the worst type of way to play Hillbilly, and that's back revving. See, for all the complaining that people did, nobody really truly understand why Hillbilly was such a strong and fun character, and it was because he was multi-purposeful. You could play Hillbilly as Curve Billy, which really did not require any add-ons after the rework, or you could play Cross Map Billy, which allowed you to use the boot add-ons, which would let you just get across the map in much easier ways. This is why the Hillbilly's weakest maps have always been indoor maps, because there's no room for him to run around with. However, in the most recent patch, one of the biggest problems that happened was that they nerfed both Curve Billy and Cross Map Billy, decreasing Hillbilly's overdrive speed, decreasing the amount of time he has overdrive, increasing the amount of time it takes to get overdrive, destroys both his cross map potential and his curve potential. You no longer are getting those additional speed boosts that you were getting as often. In compensation for this, they lowered some of the overdrive reduction add-ons to allow you to keep it for a little bit longer if you wish to run that. The problem is that those add-ons sucked back then and they still suck now. But what they also did was they nerfed the crap out of the turn rate add-ons, meaning that you no longer have cross-map control, because as I keep having to remind people, the turn rate add-ons did not affect your curve window. Your curve window is always the same turn rate regardless of what add-ons you have. The turn rate add-ons are for after the curve window, not during it. So his cross-map potential and his navigation got heavily nerfed, because not only did the rarity for those add-ons get increased, but also they nerfed the numbers on those add-ons significantly, making it even weaker. So now the only viable way to play the Hillbilly is to back rev. You need to get up into people's faces or get into their back and then just rev the chainsaw and down them. And that's not fun for anyone. It's not fun for the Billy player. It's not fun for the survivors. It's not fun for anybody. It just makes Hillbilly significantly more boring. In nerfing the Hillbilly, they have done so much more than weaken him. They have ruined the variety of his playstyle. They have created a character that no longer has those options. I mean, he has those options, but they're just not as viable as before. You're more likely to back rev people like people did in the overheat days, because why wouldn't you? There's no reason to continue trying to play into the overdrive if it's significantly nerfed as it is. And if the turn rate add-ons are also nerfed, then it makes it even harder to play cross-map Billy. So both Sniper Billy and Curve Billy are both significantly weaker, while back rev Billy remains the same, therefore heightening his abilities. I know somebody's gonna respond to this and be like, oh, you just don't know how to play Hillbilly, because that's what always frickin' happens whenever I bring up this kind of thing. But it's just like when Vecna got nerfed within 2 weeks of his release. It's one of these things where the nerfs don't necessarily ruin or weaken the character to a significant degree, they just aren't necessary. He got over-nerfed, and the reason I'm saying that is because he went from 3 play styles to 1. Back revving is the most viable, and if you hated back revving before, you're going to hate it now, mark my words. But hey, that's all I have for you guys today. Let me know what you think down below, and as always, a great big special thank you to my channel members listed on screen now. You want to find out how to become a channel member and get awesome perks like seeing videos early, merch discount codes, and more, then please click this join button down below. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Need more Kaiser in your life? Well, I've got you covered. Check out my second channel, The Kaiser Extras, where I upload full gameplays, stream compilations, me reacting to your Dead by Daylight clips, and more. We also upload a daily short with all the greatest clips from stream. We'll see you over there. Link is in the description.